Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Myself Seema Tambe, and today I'm going to explain you about what is base. Okay, let's start. So yesterday we have seen what is acid. Today we are going to see what is base. Okay, so what are basically the properties of base by which you can say that the particular substance is base. So what is it? Okay, so that's what we are going to see. So what are some properties of bases? Okay, this you might have studied in your previous grade. Okay, but let's just see it in short. Okay, so what is base? What are the properties of base? So base is something which is bitter in taste. Okay, that is what base. Then when you touch it, it is soapy to touch. Okay, what is the first thing which is base? Base is bitter to taste. Second thing, it is soapy to touch. Okay, third thing, whenever you're checking its pH, that pH of a base will always be more than 7. Okay, what is the pH value will be more than 7. Okay, the pH value of a base will be more than 7. If you see a solution and if you check its pH, if it is more than 7, then that particular solution is base. Okay, then if you are checking it with litmus paper, the base will turn litmus paper blue. Okay, so here are some properties. We'll see it again. What are those? Bitter in taste. Whenever you are touching it, basically it's a soapy to touch. Okay, example, then the pH value of a base is more than 7, then you can say that the particular substance is what? Base. Then if you are taking a red litmus, if it turns blue, then you can say that particular solution, then it's like confirmed that a particular substance is what? Base. Okay, now we'll see what basically in chemistry how base is defined. Okay, so what is base in, if at all they have asked you what is base, how to define base. So let's see what is base. Base is a substance, okay, when dissolved in water. What is base? A substance when dissolved in water produces OH minus ions. Okay, in acid you have seen that if at all there is H plus ions, then that particular substance is what? Acid. Likewise in base, if a substance when dissolved in water, okay, if you are taking a substance and if the substance after dissolving in water, if at all it is producing what? OH minus ions. Okay, base means always OH minus ions. Okay, fine students. So what is base? A substance which when dissolved in water produces OH minus ions. Okay, now let's just see the examples of base. What are example of base? Potassium hydroxide, then sodium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. These are what? Example of bases. Now let's see how the reaction basically, or how the dissociation takes place. Now this is what? Potassium hydroxide. It is in aqueous medium. Okay, when something that is base, whenever it is an aqueous medium, then it gets dissociated. Okay, so KOH, which is potassium hydroxide, when it is dissolved in water, that is its aqueous medium, it will dissociate into ions. So it will dissociate into K plus ions and OH minus ions. Okay, second thing is what? Sodium hydroxide. Okay, this is another example of base. If at all you're dissolving in water, sodium hydroxide will dissociate into Na plus ions and OH minus ions. Okay, so it will dissociate into Na plus ions and OH minus ions. Okay, so let's just see it again. KOH, which is what? Potassium. OH is hydroxide, so it's potassium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide, NaOH, which is hydroxide. Mention that it is an aqueous medium, because in aqueous medium only the that is NaOH and KOH will dissociate into water. Okay, so hence it is important to write aqueous. Okay, so whenever you're taking substance, that is here we have taken what KOH and NaOH has base, whenever you're dissolving water, it will dissociate into K plus ions and OH minus ions, Na plus ions and OH minus ions. So yes, so let's see the definition again. Base is what? A substance when dissolved in water produces OH minus ions. So see whether it is producing OH minus ions. Yes, it is producing. Here whether it is producing OH minus ions. Yes, it is producing. So this particular thing is what? It's a base. And so these are the example of base. Understood? Now let's just see whether the particular, how you'll get to know that particular base is strong base or strong as okay, so particular base is what? Strong base or weak base. How will you get to know? Let's just see it. Okay, so what is strong base and weak base? Let's see. Strong base and weak base. Okay, so example of strong base are what, guys? KOH, NaOH, calcium hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide. Okay, and the example of a weak acid is example of a weak base is NH4OH. Okay, so what is the strong base? Example, so it is KOH, which is potassium hydroxide, NaOH, which is sodium hydroxide, KOH twice, which is calcium hydroxide, and magnesium hydroxide. Okay, so what are strong bases? The base which dissociates completely in water. Okay, like here we'll see an example of, we have already seen the example, just let's see it again. Okay, whenever you're taking calcium hydroxide, when you're dissolving in water, it is going to dissociate into calcium ions and OH minus ions, right? So what is strong base? A base which dissociates completely. What? A base which dissociates, that is break down completely. Okay, what is base? What is strong base? A base which dissociates completely in water. For example, if you take 50 molecules of calcium hydroxide, whole of the 50 molecules are going to dissociate and form OH minus ions. But here in weak base, what example we took is ammonium hydroxide. So what happens over here in weak base is that weak base is a base, okay, which do not dissociate completely, which do not dissociate completely. Okay, okay, what is a weak base, guys? Example is sodium hydroxide. A base which do not dissociates completely to is what? Weak base. Means, for example, if you take 50 molecule of ammonium hydroxide, only half of the molecule are going to get dissociate. Okay, fine. So this is about the weak base. Okay, what is weak base? Ammonium hydroxide, a base which do not dissociate completely. That is, if you are taking 50 molecule, half of the molecule are going to dissociate and form OH minus ions. Okay, so this is about what? Strong base and weak base. Okay, fine. So that's it for the day. If you like my video, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.